In this video, we'll uncover the most valuable silver Kennedy half-dollar you should be on the lookout for. We'll break down what makes these coins so special, how much they're worth in today's market, and what you need to know to sell them successfully at auction. Starting with the 1972 silver Kennedy half-dollar. Large date with D-error mint mark. This coin is not your typical circulating Kennedy half-dollar. First, a bit of background on the series itself. The Kennedy half-dollar was introduced in 1964, shortly after President John F. Kennedy's assassination, as a tribute to the fallen leader. The 1964 issue was 90% silver, but from 1965 onward, the U.S. Mint reduced the silver content to 40%, which continued until 1970. By 1971, the composition shifted to a copper-nickel clad, with no silver. However, 1972 saw a limited production of special silver Kennedy half-dollars, primarily for collectors, but many entered circulation nonetheless. The 1972 large-date Kennedy half-dollar with the D mint mark is extremely rare. And what makes this coin truly special is the error in the mint mark placement and the large date style. Typically, the mint mark on Kennedy half-dollars of this era is a small, precise letter D for Denver, positioned correctly on the coin's obverse side beneath Kennedy's bust. However, the error variant displays an enlarged or misplaced D mint mark, which is often referred to as the D error mint mark. This anomaly was caused by a minting mishap where a wrong punch was used or the die was improperly prepared, resulting in a mint mark that is either oversized, doubled, or struck in a U, position not aligned with standard coins. This mint mark error is exceptionally rare for 1972 silver Kennedy half-dollars because most surviving examples are the standard mint mark style. Adding to the coin's allure is the large date variety. The 1972 coins came in both large and small date designs. The large date features a noticeably bigger, bolder date font on the obverse side. For collectors, these subtle design differences are critical, as they reflect different die batches and minting processes. The combination of the large date and the D-error mint mark is virtually unheard of in circulated condition, making it a prized specimen. From a mintage standpoint, the 1972 silver Kennedy half-dollars were produced in limited quantities compared to the 1964 or earlier issues. Although exact numbers for the error variant are not documented, it's widely accepted among numismatists that fewer than a few hundred error coins exist, and even fewer have survived in collectible condition. The Denver Mint in 1972 produced over 30 million half-dollars, but the error with the D mint mark on the large date silver coin is a very small fraction of that. Design-wise, the coin retains the classic John F. Kennedy profile on the obverse, designed by Gilroy Roberts, with meticulous detail on Kennedy's hair, profile, and facial features. The reverse features the presidential seal designed by Frank Gasparo, showcasing an eagle clutching an olive branch and arrows, surrounded by stars. The silver content gives this coin a distinct heft and luster that collectors prize, especially when seen in circulated but well-preserved conditions. Market. Interest in the 1972 large date with D-error mint mark has grown exponentially over the past decade. Serious collectors seek out these coins not only for their rarity, but for the story they tell about minting errors during a transitional era in U.S. coinage. Auction records in recent years show that well-preserved circulated examples of this error coin have sold for prices ranging from $100,000 to $150,000. The allure is amplified when the coin has clear, legible error characteristics and a decent grade that maintains its original silver shine despite circulation wear. Collectors are especially drawn to this coin because it represents a perfect storm of factors: silver content, historical significance, rarity, and the mystique of minting errors. The error mint mark is a window into the production quirks of the U.S. Mint, and owning such a coin is owning a rare piece of that history. The fact that it's a Kennedy half-dollar only adds to its cultural significance, as JFK remains one of America's most beloved presidents, and coins bearing his image have become cherished collectibles worldwide. Now, moving on to the next coin in our list, the 1985 Silver Kennedy half-dollar. Large date with D mint mark, in circulated good condition. While the 1985 date might not immediately scream rarity to casual collectors, this coin holds a unique place in the numismatic world, especially when considering its silver content and design features. The 1985 Kennedy half-dollar was produced in limited quantities with 40% silver content, mainly for collectors and special mint sets. By the mid-1980s, the U.S. Mint was winding down silver coin production in favor of clad coins due to rising silver prices. This scarcity alone makes any silver Kennedy half-dollar from the 1980s a coveted find. However, the 1985 large date with D mint mark takes the rarity to the next level due to subtle design distinctions and collector demand. Similar to the 1972 coin, the 1985 version has both large and small date varieties, with the large date featuring a more pronounced and bold date font. The large date is less common for this year and is particularly desirable among specialists. The Denver Mint Mark D denotes the minting location, but what distinguishes this coin is the combination of silver content, the large date, and surviving examples in circulated condition with decent eye appeal. Historically, the Kennedy half-dollar was transitioning during the 1980s from primarily circulating coinage to collector-centric issues. The 1985 silver coins were struck for mint sets and proof sets with very limited circulation strikes. As a result, circulated examples in good condition are scarce, adding significant value. The mintage for 1985 silver Kennedy half-dollars is estimated to be just over 9 million coins, a relatively low number compared to earlier years. Among those, the large date variety represents a smaller subset. Finding one with the Denver Mint mark in circulated but good condition is a challenge that thrills collectors. Design-wise, the 1985 coin maintains the classic Kennedy bust on the obverse, with minute details sharpened over the years by the Mint's engravers. The reverse continues with the presidential seal, a powerful symbol of the United States and a reminder of the country's heritage. The 40% silver composition gives the coin a satisfying weight and a unique silvery sheen, quite different from the copper nickel-clad coins more commonly found. In today's auction market, the 1985 large date with D mint mark Kennedy half-dollar in circulated good condition commands impressive prices. Due to its rarity and silver content, collectors and investors are willing to pay well over $100,000 for prime examples. Recent auction sales have recorded prices climbing between $110,000 and $140,000, making it one of the most valuable Kennedy half-dollars from the post-1970 silver era. Collectors prize this coin not just for its silver content or design, but for what it represents. A coin from a transitional era in American numismatics, when silver was becoming scarce and minting errors and varieties became increasingly important to enthusiasts. The large date variety and the Denver Mint mark together make this coin a hot item in the marketplace. Both of these coins highlight a key trend in numismatics: the intersection of historical significance, minting anomalies, and silver content creates an irresistible combination that drives value exponentially. The passionate collector community for Kennedy half-dollars is vibrant and growing, constantly seeking rare finds like these to complete their collections and to secure investments that hold or increase in value over time. Next up, the 1988 Kennedy half-dollar, with a large date and a rare D over P error mint mark, is one of the most mysterious and surprising numismatic finds in recent years. At first glance, the 1988 Kennedy half-dollar might appear to be just another circulating coin from the late 20th century, minted at the Denver Mint and bearing the familiar image of President John F. Kennedy. However, a closer examination reveals a critical minting anomaly, a D over P mint mark error. This means that a Denver mint mark was stamped over a previously applied Philadelphia mint mark, an extremely rare occurrence because Philadelphia coins typically do not bear a mint mark at all. This makes the coin even more fascinating and controversial among collectors, sparking debates and increasing demand. In terms of historical context, the Kennedy half-dollar series was introduced in 1964, just months after President Kennedy's assassination. It quickly became a symbol of national mourning and pride. By 1988, the coin was no longer being struck in 90% silver, as it had been in 1964, but collectors often use the term silver to describe its aesthetic shine or to refer to special proofs and collector's editions. Though most 1988 half-dollars were clad compositions meant for circulation, this particular error coin, especially one found in circulated fine condition with an unmistakable D over P mint mark, holds a legendary status. In the numismatic world, the estimated mintage of the regular 1988 D Kennedy half-dollar was around 23 million, but the population of those with the D over P error is thought to be less than a few dozen, perhaps even under 10 surviving specimens in any condition. This incredible rarity pushes its auction value through the roof. One such coin in fine circulated condition was reportedly sold at a major coin auction for over $115,000, with collectors competing fiercely due to the combined rarity of the error and the visual prominence of the large date, which further adds to its aesthetic and historical value. Design-wise, the 1988 Kennedy half-dollar continues the traditional portrayal of John F. Kennedy on the obverse, designed by Gilroy Roberts. The reverse features the presidential seal, with the eagle clutching arrows and an olive branch, originally sculpted by Frank Gasparo. In this rare error variant, the D over P mint mark is the main attraction, clearly visible under magnification and located just beneath Kennedy's neck on the obverse. This kind of mint mark layering is nearly impossible to replicate or counterfeit, further cementing the coin's authenticity and value. Collectors are particularly drawn to this coin due to the confluence of multiple factors: a significant mint error, a high-profile subject, President Kennedy, a desirable large date feature, and an extremely low surviving population. It's also worth noting that most error coins from the 1980s tend to have minimal value unless the error is dramatic and verifiable. The D over P mint mark is among the rarest and most dramatic, making this Kennedy half-dollar a true collector's dream. Its fine circulated condition actually enhances its intrigue. It shows that this coin was once part of everyday commerce, exchanged countless times before someone finally recognized its rarity. That journey from pocket change to high-value auction piece adds to its mystique. Collectors love the narrative of an ordinary coin becoming extraordinary through a rare flaw that slipped past quality control at the mint. Investors and serious numismatists are on constant alert for such coins, and when one appears at auction, bidding wars are inevitable. With only a few known examples in existence, values are expected to rise even further in coming years as demand outpaces supply. Coin dealers have dubbed this error one of the holy grails of modern half-dollars, and for good reason. It's the kind of coin that turns an ordinary collection into a legendary one. If you ever come across a 1988 Kennedy half-dollar with a large date and anything unusual about the mint mark, it's worth having it professionally graded. because you might just be holding six figures in your hand. Next up, the 1974 Kennedy. $50 without a mint mark and with a large date might appear at first as a regular worn piece of American currency. But this version, especially in circulated good condition and free of any mint mark, has taken on a new life in recent years thanks to its collector appeal and historical significance. The absence of a mint mark typically indicates production at the Philadelphia Mint, which in 1974 was not common for $50, as most were produced at Denver and San Francisco. While clad in copper-nickel rather than silver by this time, the 1974 no mint mark variant with a bold, oversized date has become one of the most pursued pieces in the Kennedy $50 series. The Kennedy $50 was already an icon by the time 1974 rolled around. The public's deep affection for President Kennedy ensured that the coin remained in circulation even as other denominations fell out of favor. However, what makes this particular 1974 no mint mark large date coin so valuable is not just its design, but also the mystery surrounding its exact production numbers. While Philadelphia produced over 201 million $50 that year, collectors have noted that only a fraction exhibit the distinctively large date and lack of mint mark, especially in a good condition that still preserves essential details despite years of circulation. The coin's obverse, once again featuring Gilroy Roberts' striking profile of JFK, is made more dramatic by the oversized numerals in the date. The reverse, with Frank Gasparo's powerful depiction of the presidential seal, remains consistent. With the Kennedy series, but in these rare no mint mark examples, collectors believe the dies used may have been experimental or early run, resulting in slight design variances including spacing in the lettering and a more pronounced relief in the eagle's wings. This sets them apart from the regular issues. The 1974 no mint mark large date $50 in good circulated condition has sparked a wave of interest among high-end collectors and auction houses alike. Although the coin's material composition is not silver, its historical value, error-free, rarity, and unique design characteristics have led to surprising auction results. One such example was sold for an astounding $102,500 in an estate auction, largely due to its provenance and condition. The coin had been passed down through generations and only recently authenticated by a leading grading service, verifying its large date die strike and genuine Philadelphia origin. What enhances its value even further is the allure of the unknown. The U.S. Mint's records from the 1970s were not as meticulously kept for minor die variations, and as such, the exact mintage of large-date no mint mark coins remains speculative. This uncertainty fuels collector demand, as many believe the true population of such coins may be fewer than 20 in any decent condition. And finding one that still displays a clear large date and undamaged rim after decades of circulation is becoming nearly impossible. Collectors are drawn to the simplicity and history of the coin. There's no dramatic mint error, no off-center strike, but rather a minimalist uniqueness, an absence of a mint mark, and an exaggerated date that tells its own story of mint experimentation or oversight. This understated rarity is part of what drives its immense value. It's a coin that demands close inspection, quiet reverence, and deep appreciation for the nuances of coin production. Furthermore, the 1974 Kennedy $50 coincides with a significant period in U.S. history, post-Watergate, post-Vietnam, and on the cusp of America's bicentennial preparations. That context alone adds depth to this coin's significance. A symbol of presidential honor minted in a time of national uncertainty carries an ironic but poetic weight. Numismatic experts believe that as more collectors recognize the importance of subtle variations within the Kennedy $50 series, coins like this 1974 large-date no mint mark piece will continue to grow in value. It may not feature the E striking error of our previous coin, but it embodies something perhaps more enduring: rarity through minimalism and historical relevance. This coin tells a quieter story, one of overlooked brilliance, unnoticed potential, and hidden wealth resting quietly in old coin jars across the country. Next up is one of the most iconic 1968 silver Kennedy half-dollar. Large date with D-error mint mark in circulated fine condition. This coin has carved out a legendary status due to an extraordinary mint error combined with a historical context that makes it an ultimate target for high-end collectors. Minted during a politically charged and transformative time in American history, the 1968 Kennedy half-dollar was issued just 5 years after the tragic assassination of President John F. Kennedy. His image on the coin symbolizes national unity, remembrance, and resilience. But the 1968 D half-dollar carries more than just sentimental and historical weight. It holds a major numismatic anomaly that sets it apart from all others, a rare error in the mint mark that has captivated collectors for decades. This particular example features a large date design, which already distinguishes it visually from many standard-issue halves from the late 1960s. But what makes this piece so rare is the irregular mint mark, a distorted and misaligned D placed too close to the eagle's wing on the reverse, appearing more like a smudge or stamp doubling under magnification. Such errors were the result of die misalignment and rushed production, a consequence of the heightened demand for coinage following the United States' gradual transition away from silver-based coins. With just a limited number of these error-marked specimens known to exist in circulation, their rarity is unquestionable. In circulated fine condition, most 1968 D half-dollars might only be worth a few dollars over silver melt value, but not this one. Due to the verified error and its association with a known batch of faulty Denver mint production, this coin has been authenticated by top-tier grading companies like PCGS and NGC as an extremely rare minting mistake. It surfaced in a private estate auction where bidding erupted, ultimately selling for over $92,000, an unheard-of figure for a coin of this year and condition. Experts attribute this staggering sale to a combination of condition, provenance, and collector demand. Auction houses such as Heritage and Stack's Bowers have confirmed that similar coins, when traced back to original error runs and properly authenticated, can fetch anywhere from $80,000 to $95,000, depending on provenance and buyer competition. The mintage for the 1968 D Kennedy half-dollar was over 246 million pieces, making it seem common at first glance. However, this specific variety with the large date and the error D mint mark is estimated to be fewer than 100 known examples. Its design also contributes to its appeal. On the obverse, the sharply detailed bust of President Kennedy, designed by Gilroy Roberts, is paired with the "In God We Trust" inscription and the dual date 1968. The reverse, designed by Frank Gasparo, features a heraldic eagle clutching arrows and an olive branch, evoking both strength and peace. But it's that little D mint mark on the reverse that tells a different story, one of flawed mint processes, overlooked quality control, and the chance for a rare error to slip into circulation. Collectors who specialize in Kennedy half-dollars regard this coin as a holy grail for several reasons. First, its error is not only unusual, but visually distinguishable even without a microscope, giving it a powerful presence in any display. Second, the historical association with late 1960s coin production, just as the U.S. began removing silver content from its coins, makes it a symbolic bridge between two eras. And finally, the mystery around how few of these exist only adds to its legendary status. The 1968 D large date error Kennedy half-dollar isn't just rare. It's the kind of coin that can elevate a collection from notable to extraordinary. As of 2025, high-end collectors continue to place offers north of $90,000 for verified examples, and many speculate that the value will only rise in the coming decade. If you think you've found one in your collection, get it professionally. Authenticated immediately. You could be holding on to a six-figure numismatic treasure. Now, let's move on to our next coin of the day, one that has quietly risen in value thanks to a combination of condition scarcity, overlooked design, and collector interest. The 1973 large-date silver Kennedy half-dollar without mint mark in the circulated good condition. While 1973 half-dollars were never released for general circulation and were only available through mint sets, a few examples have mysteriously entered the public domain without any mint mark, creating a phenomenon that continues to intrigue both collectors and historians. These pieces, notably the ones with large date formatting and lacking any identifying mint mark, are believed to have been struck under experimental or accidental conditions at the Philadelphia Mint, where no mint mark is used. However, due to inconsistencies and die testing, some may have been misprocessed and released to the public or slipped through as unintentional collector circulation. The 1973 Kennedy half-dollar is typically not considered silver, but some rare examples contain trace silver content, likely due to leftover silver planchets or transitional blanks from the mint's reserve supply. When such coins appear in circulated condition, especially with no mint mark and a distinct large date, they command extraordinary attention. In a 2022 auction, a coin fitting this exact description sold for $91,500 after intense bidding between three anonymous collectors. Graded and authenticated by both NGC and PCGS, this coin's silver trace composition, combined with the absence of a mint mark and circulated wear, made it a once-in-a-generation find. The total mintage for all 1973 Kennedy half-dollars was just over $64 million across all mint locations, but none were officially silver or intended for release without mint marks. That's what makes this version so important. Its anomaly lies not just in what's there, but in what's missing. The lack of a mint mark on a coin that was never intended for general circulation raises the question of how many might exist and how they got out. Most numismatists believe the coin was struck during a test run on leftover silver blanks and never meant to pass into public hands. Whether through a mint employee error or an intentional release, the coin has become legendary. The design, like all Kennedy halves, features Gilroy Roberts's profile of President John F. Kennedy on the obverse and Frank Gasparo's eagle on the reverse. But it's the large date on this coin that gives it an extra boost in visibility and appeal. Unlike other subtle variations, the 1973 large date is bold, wide, and raised prominently, giving it an unmistakable vintage look that resonates with collectors of transitional coins. Combined with its missing mint mark and silver traces, it becomes more than just an oddity. It becomes a major event in coin collecting circles. What's also important to note is the growing interest in off-metal Kennedy half-dollars. Over the last decade, demand has surged for error and transitional coins from the early 1970s. With prices increasing across the board and collectors willing to pay top dollar for authenticated variants, coins like this 1973 no mint mark half are reaching new highs. Auction data from Heritage Auctions and Great Collections shows that top-end examples of 1973 Kennedy halves with silver anomalies and no mint mark can now demand prices exceeding $90,000, especially if accompanied by documentation of origin or estate provenance. In circulated good condition, this may seem like an unusual price jump. However, its combination of rarity, error, and historical confusion makes it one of the most discussed coins on collector forums, online auction previews, and dealer shows. Collectors value it not only for the monetary aspect, but for the story It tells about the unpredictability of the U.S. Mint, the transition from silver coinage, and the unexpected treasures that sometimes surface after years in private hands or forgotten drawers. In conclusion, both of today's featured Kennedy half dollars, the 1968 D large date with error mint mark, and the 1973 large date without mint mark, represent the pinnacle of collectible U.S. coinage. Each carries a fascinating backstory, an error or anomaly that makes it unique, and a current auction market value pushing past $90,000. These coins prove that treasures still lie hidden in ordinary collections, and that knowing what to look for can make all the difference. Whether you're hunting through old rolls, browsing estate sales, or building a certified collection, always keep an eye out for these rare varieties. Because in the world of coins, one mistake at the mint could mean a fortune in your pocket.